Showtime Worldwide Radio Network.
Indiana 3-on-1. Alley-oop. Throws it down. Paul George again for another three.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now you got to play some defense.
Gets it back to Paul.
Got to go to work.
Here's a three.
Oh, my goodness, PG.
Of 2007.
Oh, did he get a steal? Oh, Pacers got it again. PG. Paul George get it again. Oh, my goodness.
Here's Paul George again.
Throw it back to him. Yes, sir. Throw it back to him.
He's got 43. A heck of a game tonight in Portland.
That was the call of our guest now from Fox Sports Indiana. He's the Pacers play-by-play guy. Also does work for the Big Ten Network. Chris Denari joins us. What a game last night. A loss for the Pacers, but what was it like watching that defining moment for Paul George last night?
Well, Mo, thanks for having me on. You've got to understand how good the environment always is in Portland. I mean, it's one of the best environments in the NBA, and despite the loss, to have a game like that was so well played, the drama, the shots that Paul George was hitting, 17 points in the fourth quarter, 27 in the second half. It was a fantastic night, and I walked away thinking, the NBA in December. That's pretty good. Lillard hitting shots, LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, it was a great night of basketball, and Paul George is cementing himself, not just maybe one of the top 5 in this league. He may be the top 3. I heard Tim Legler earlier today on ESPN said right now he has LeBron James number 1, Kevin Durant number 2, and Paul George number 3. That's pretty heady company for a young man that's just 23.
When you look at the game last night, Paul George seemed like he was very close to a Reggie Miller-esque type comeback that he had against the Knicks. He misses that three-pointer off of the steal. When you're making a call like that in the moment, and if he hits that three and brings the Pacers back after that, are you conscious at all of the replays, maybe it being on SportsCenter? Are you conscious of how you're calling the game because you need to amp it up a little bit because it's going to be replayed a ton? Or is it all just emotion and in the moment?
No, I think it's the moment. I don't think you can ever predetermine or preconceive what you're going to do. It's got to be raw. It's got to be in the moment. And I guess fortunately from a basketball perspective, I've done I think over 1,000 games now. Whether it's radio or TV. So you've been in moments like that, and so it's really not anything new from that standpoint. And every game is its own story. But to see what was happening, if Paul makes that three in the corner and it's a 1-point game, who knows what's going to happen. I think I had said with 23 8/10 when the Pacers inbounded down 7, I said it's really going to take a miracle for the Pacers to win, and they almost got that miracle down the stretch. But, to be in that moment, that's why I say I think I've got one of the best jobs because my office is the arena. And 19,000 people are there, and, people back in Indiana are relying on you to tell them what's happening with the great pictures that we have. So it's just you've got to be in the moment and make sure that you're in the moment because you never know what's going to happen. That's why I love what I do.
Talking with Chris Denari, play-by-play guy with Fox Sports Indiana for the Indiana Pacers, also does work with the Big Ten Network. I checked out some of the Blazers broadcasts last night, and those guys do a great job, but they kind of have that Portland Northwest type feel, they're kind of laid back. And then you flip over and watching you and Quinn on Fox Sports Indiana, it's a completely different kind of dynamic. What's it like in a moment like that, especially working with Quinn Buckner?
Well, that you never know what Quinn's going to say. I mean, there may be a smothered chicken or the excitement that he has, and he and I, our relationship is very good, and the thing that we try to do, Mo, is every night it's inform and entertain. We understand that, people have worked all day, particularly last night in the Eastern time zone, you're making a commitment to stay up and watch the game, whether you're on your couch or laying in bed, no matter what you're doing. And so to me, it's incumbent on us to make sure that you feel like you're there. And I think the beauty of HD television now is the picture's so clear. You can, a lot of people are watching on big screens, 50, 60, 70-inch screens, so you feel like you're there. So we just want to augment that and make sure that you have a very enjoyable night. And when the game delivers like it does, you don't really have to work that hard to do that. There are nights where maybe the game's not as exciting or it's not as well played as last night, so we have to work a little bit harder in the moment. But you really didn't have to work much last night.
Chris Denari, play-by-play guy with the Indiana Pacers, Fox Sports Indiana. Tim from South Bend wants to know, what's Quinn like during a commercial break, especially after a big play?
Well, we'll take our headsets off and talk and, communicate to each other about maybe where we want to go out of the timeout, talk to our producer. Sometimes we just look at each other, especially last night when, the first quarter, Paul George was raising up and hitting shots. And we're just like, wow, this is something that we thought was possible with Paul, but I don't think we were ever sure that it would happen this soon. Working with Quinn, here's what you have to understand. To us, he's just QB, but this is one of the legendary figures in basketball. There are only 3 people in the history of the sport that have won a championship, a college championship, an NBA title, and Olympic gold, and that's Magic Johnson, Jerry Lucas, and Quinn Buckner. I mean,
wow.
This guy is legendary, and sometimes, we forget that. But I don't think people forget it. When Quinn is walking into buildings, I mean, people want to know what he's about because, the basketball fan recognizes what he has meant to the game.
Yeah, you guys have assembled a pretty awesome team there with yourself, Quinn, and Brooke Olzendam. It's enjoyable from start to finish on Fox Sports Indiana. With a game like last night where the Pacers lead through 3 quarters and then to lose it like that, kind of a heartbreaking loss. What went wrong in your eyes with the Pacers in that fourth quarter?
Well, I think, a couple of things. Portland was able to hit shots from the perimeter early. Their first 14 points of the quarter came from Lillard, Mo Williams, and Wesley Matthews. I thought the Pacers did a really good job of defending the 3, but Lillard hit the 3 to start the fourth quarter, hit another one, and then Matthews hit one. And then Aldridge came in and went to work. So I think the key, Mo, is through the first 3 quarters, it was really at the pace that the Pacers wanted to play. That game looked to be like it was going to be in the high 80s into the low 90s or the mid 90s. But I think in the fourth quarter we saw just how good Portland is. They outscored the Pacers 34-30 and were able to play the game the way they wanted to play. And I think that was the key.
Do we see last night 2 guys who should be MVP candidates who don't get enough talking about because they don't play in L.A. or New York?
No question. LaMarcus Aldridge is clearly one of the most underrated players in the league. David West said before the game on this trip that he feels like he's the best power forward in the league. Now, I think David West is a pretty good player as well. There are a lot of underrated players that you see from night to night in the NBA. I think that's what makes the league so great, is that there are so many outstanding players. Even on teams that have sub-500 records, you have a lot of high-quality players. But last night you saw 3 players in particular, in Lillard, who was the Rookie of the Year last year, Aldridge, and Paul George, that are 3 of the most dynamic players in this league, but they don't get a lot of notoriety because they play in small markets. They play in Indianapolis and Portland. But last night I think it was on display and pretty well received. From what I found on my Twitter feed nationally, there were a lot of eyeballs watching last night's game because you had, a month into the season, the 2 best teams in their respective conferences, the Trail Blazers and the Pacers. And so it was a heck of a battle.
Yeah, this was the 2 teams meeting with the highest winning percentage this late in the season since like 1993. An amazing game to watch last night. And what amazed me even more afterwards was Quinn brought up a point. There was a couple of instances where Aldridge got Roy Hibbert low with the knee when he was driving to the basket. And then afterwards, the exchange on Twitter between Roy Hibbert and LaMarcus Aldridge, for once between 2 players, not nasty back and forth, but very respectful. Was that something different, nice to see with these two guys last night?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw Roy saying he's going to have to wear a cup when he plays, and then Aldridge saying, hey, that's just how, I play. I don't mean to do it. I thought they could have been a couple of offensive fouls. And then Hibbert saying, hey, I respect you, bro, and hope to see you in the finals. Probably nationally the television people don't want to see Indiana and Portland in the finals, but I think it'd be a heck of a game. I think it goes to show that there are a lot of talented teams and a lot of talented players, and there's great respect among players in the NBA. It's a brotherhood, and they go after each other hard, but once the night is over, they're quick to praise each other. And these are two young teams. Remember, Roy Hibbert signed an offer sheet with Portland, and the Trailblazers wanted to pair him with LaMarcus Aldridge. And I think all Pacers fans are very happy that Donnie Walsh and Kevin Pritchard a summer ago opted to, tear that offer sheet up or sign the offer sheet and keep Roy with Indiana, because he is the backbone of this team. There are, David West is the heart and soul of the team. Roy Hibbert is the backbone. Paul George is able to do many things on the floor because you have the 7'2" post player in the middle.
Talking with Chris Denari, play-by-play guy from the Pacers, getting ready to get on a flight to head to Utah. Lance Stevenson has grown by leaps and bounds since he's entered the NBA and played with the Pacers. For me, the problem with Lance taking that next step is some nights he plays kind of out of control. A couple of turnovers last night when he seemed out of control. A lot of fouls. Is that what's preventing Lance from taking that next step, is sometimes getting under control?
Yeah, and consistency. He's a guy that, again, he's the same age as Paul, came out of the 2010 draft class, but has not had the experience in the starting lineup that Paul George has had. So, he's got to be better. I thought that hurt the Pacers last night, that they didn't get anything out of his position. He didn't score. I thought he didn't look to attack enough for himself. I think at times he gets overly unselfish, and instead of going to the basket, I think he did have a basket late, so he did have 2 points late. But he's got to be better, and I think he understands that. Frank Vogel understands that, and they'll use what happened last night with how he played to get him back on track. Because for this team to be successful, they need all 5 starters to play at a high level, not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And they'll need more from Lance starting tomorrow night in Utah.
Obviously, every game important in the NBA, but was there a feeling among this team that they look at this 5-game stretch out west as a defining moment for this team, this part of the season?
Well, I think this is, a key road trip for Indiana to see, what kind of team they have. But I think, Mo, what they found out last night, and I spent some time after the game with the coaches and Frank, is Frank said, if this is what it takes to beat us for a team to play very, very well on their home floor, he goes, I feel pretty good about our chances this year. They've got a tough back-to-back coming up on Saturday and Sunday against Oklahoma City and San Antonio. You have a Utah team tomorrow night that's now won 3 of 4. They've got Trey Burke in the starting lineup, the rookie out of Michigan. So this is it's not a make or break for the season, but I think it is defining who this team is. And I think what we've seen in the first 2 games, they're highly competitive. They don't back down. And I like what we've seen in the first 2 games against the Clippers and Portland.
Yeah, you look at this 5 of 6 stretch is pretty amazing. The Clippers, the Trailblazers, you got Utah, then San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and then you come back against Miami. This could be a time where the Pacers really make a statement to those who haven't paid attention yet that this is the team to beat. This looks like a championship team.
No question about that. They're a team that, and they've said it from day one, and they march out to a 16-2 record in their first 18 games. They're a contender. They are a legitimate championship contender, and they've won what they experienced last year in the postseason, especially against New York and Miami. So I don't think there's any question, and I think what you're seeing is Paul George has embraced being a closer. He didn't just score 43 points in a game that didn't mean anything. He did it in a game where the Pacers had a chance to win, and with 17 points in the fourth quarter, hitting big shot after big shot after big shot. I think that says a lot about this team, says a lot about Paul, and a lot about the good things that are going to happen this year.
Chris Denari from Fox Sports Indiana, play-by-play voice of the Indiana Pacers tomorrow night in Utah, 9 o'clock on Fox Sports Indiana. We look forward to the game tomorrow night. Yourself, Quinn, and Brooke Olsen, Dan, have a safe trip to Utah, and we'll be watching tomorrow night.
All right, thanks, Mo.
There you go, Chris Denari, the voice of the Indiana Pacers.